Big win for Oscar. I think that's 3 in a row. I'm not sure. I think that's 3 in a row. Hey, congratulations to him. Congratulations also to Mr. Max Verstappen. New father, little girl. I think her name is Lily. How about that? The genes of Nelson Piquet and Max and Jos Verstappen. Now, hear me out. 21 years from now, little Lily Verstappen marries two-time world champion F1 driver, 40-year-old Kimi Antonelli. I mean, that's within the realm of possibility. Okay? He'll be like 40, she'll be like 21. I mean, that's some F1 genes there. All right, are you ready to go, son?
I'm ready to go.
Hello, welcome to Hard Compound, an American take on Formula One, with your host, Brian and Patrick. We just had the first race here in the U.S., the first of 3, Miami, the land of sunshine. Not necessarily this past weekend, however. Max, though, I mean, we've been talking about Max, it seemed like for 2 years. He's been dominating the sport. He did not win. This was a weekend with a sprint and a race. He's in a tight battle with McLaren. It's Max versus McLaren at Miami. I think he came away with 12 points. That's a lot. That's a big miss. A sprint and a race. And there was no DNFs. There was a penalty, however, in the sprint. But just 12 points. Man. And Oscar gets the win again? I don't know. McLaren always said last year, we don't have a number 1. I think they have a number 1, and it's not Lando Norris. All right, son, why don't you give me your top 5 for the Miami Grand Prix?
Top 5 for the Miami Grand Prix. Fun race. Fun weekend. Good top 5, I think. Oscar's in there. And I think he will continue to be in there for pretty much the whole season.
Yeah.
But I thought there was one other driver that outshone him just a little bit. And that was Alex Albon.
Wow.
In Williams, P5, shitting on Ferrari, closing in on the Mercedes and the Red Bull of Max. I mean, the man is driving at Williams.
He is. He's doing a fine
His
job.
His teammate, Carlos Sainz, is proven good veteran driver. And can't even come close. Not even a whiff of Albon. I mean, it's what he's been able to do. I think he's already about doubled the whole Williams points total of last year. Just by himself this season.
I just looked this up because Carlos, he's been having a tough go at it. But this week he was fine, and he tried to battle Lewis there near the end. Alex Albon, though, 30 points. Carlos Sainz, 7. Carlos Sainz has fewer points than Lance Stroll.
Yeah, right? That's tough. That's no good.
Yeah. Wow. No, but you're right. Alex Albon, that was a hell of a drive.
I mean, at no point did he look like he should be outside of the top 5 during that race. I mean, yeah, impressive from him. Then I do have Oscar. He's just been so consistent this season, and the only reason he didn't win the sprint also was because of a safety car that came at essentially just the wrong time for him. So, not much he could do there, but came back in the race and battled Max into the first corner. Well, battled Max and Lando into the first corner and snuck through, took everything pretty easy after that. And, you can say, Lando was coming back at him at the end of the race. Piastri was just holding on to his tires. He didn't care. He was 10 seconds ahead of his teammate.
Yeah. And Max is That could be Max's only real pathway this year. Red Bull keeps screwing up. That's not the best car. Somehow splitting Oscar and Lando and just sort of, squeaking through those two, proverbially, and that might be his only path, not just to a race win, but to get to another championship.
Yeah, I mean his path to a championship is a tough one. I mean, he's got no teammate really to rely on. As hard as Yuki's trying, he's looked better than anybody else in that car in the last year and a half, but I mean, he's still down in P10 and not really making too much headway. Um, but yeah, I mean, Max is still impressive what he's been able to accomplish, and I mean, watching him in qualifying is just unreal. I mean, the fact that he was sitting on pole in this race was
Yeah.
dumb. The fact that he was there was just ridiculous.
I mean, all of last year, people were saying how he was overrated. I think we now have proof he's underrated. I mean, Sergio was a veteran driver and could not get anything in that car. They threw Logan Sargent, oops, Liam Lawson in there, and nothing. They've got Yuki. Yuki's a veteran driver, not in Red Bull, but Racing Bulls with the sister team. And like you said, he's doing his best. He's doing better than anybody else in that seat for the last couple of years. But no, that car is not an easy car to drive.
Um, yeah. So what did I give you? I gave you
You
Albon
can,
Piastri. Then I've got Russell. I mean,
yeah,
look, Russell just somehow appears on the podium. He just ends up there. I don't know what's happening this season. I He just doesn't show up in the race at all. He's minding his own business. He's not in any battles at all. He just is P3. And it's like, oh shit, another, good performance from George. Great points for Mercedes and for himself. And I mean, I I hesitate to put him up here in the top five because I'm like, well, I didn't even really see him race. But if you're getting on the podium and you're in the second or third, or as George said, maybe third or fourth best car on the grid, I think you're doing something right. So
Yeah.
he's been pretty good.
He's been consistent all year long. Top five, I think, maybe every race. I'm not quite sure, but doing quite a job. Yeah, and he's it could be like Jaws, the movie Jaws. We keep hearing about him, we don't really see him, and then
Yeah,
kind of late in the game, boom, Uzi's gonna take a bunch of them down.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even yeah, I think Max was even surprised. He's like, "Well, wait, George is ahead of me. Like, why? I gotta chase this guy down." Yeah, it's kind of weird, but he was there and deserved a podium. So good for him. Then I do have Max. I know he didn't come away with a great points haul, but really because of the penalty and the way it was enforced and the way the race or sprint ended with the safety car, he ended up, dead last
Yeah,
because everybody was bunched together. So he got no points for that. And then in the race, I mean, getting on pole, fighting off Lando's challenge into that first turn, and really holding his own throughout the race, I thought was impressive. I mean, he just say what you will about coming in fourth place or forcing Lando off track, blah blah blah. His racing, his defending, I mean, it's fun to watch and it is effective. He's impressive.
yeah.
And lastly, I am going to go with the rookie driver, Kimi Antonelli, in the distant future relative of Max Verstappen, apparently. So,
Nice. Alex, Oscar, George, Max, and Kimmy. Yeah, don't wish any ill will on Kimmy, but there was at one point Doohan was out, Behrman was out, Lawson was out. Who else? Who else was out?
Hedgerow, I get, or well, he wasn't out,
No,
but
no, Hedger was out. And I was like, man, how do we get Hedger out? And
Alonso, I think,
yeah,
was, or maybe that was a sprint.
I
I
was
don't
like,
know,
how
but
do we get rid of all the rookies?
all the
Who run?
rookies are,
So
yeah. I think the rookies are having a tough time, and some of them through almost no fault of their own. I mean, we saw a few engines just like explode. I think Behrman's and maybe
yeah,
Doohan as well.
yeah,
Uh,
and yeah.
yeah,
These cars are just so temperamental. You know, that this is something. And these rookies are just sort of struggling. It shows you how good Kimi Antonelli is and how good that car, that Mercedes is. And in the current driver standings, though, Oscar 131. He's now 16 ahead of his teammate Lando Norris. That's a lot. In how many races is this? Is this 6 or 7?
this is
Where are we?
6, I think.
Yeah, that's a good clip. Norris at 115. Max now distant third at 99. George Russell, the quiet man, right on his heels at 93. Charles Leclerc, Ferrari. Charles a distant fifth at 53. Oof. I thought Ferrari was going to compete for the championship. Thought Charles would. I, I said last year, Oscar. I think Oscar is better than Lando. I'm sticking to that. I said earlier this year, I think Charles Leclerc will wind up being the greatest F1 driver to never win anything. He'll not win the driver championship. Ferrari, he won't win their constructors. It's going to be tough. Speaking of Ferrari, they're now in fourth. McLaren at 246, Mercedes. Wow, McLaren is killing it. 246, Mercedes 141, over 100 points
Ooh.
already. Wow. Red Bull 105. Look at this. I said Max had 99 points. Red Bull has 105. Max is basically, he's close to 100% of all the points.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, Ferrari at 94. That one double DNF week. Oh, man, 94. But Williams, 5th place at 37. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, it's 5th place. It's bad. I mean, yeah. Back to Ferrari, though. Lewis Hamilton made some nasty comments on the radio. I mean, things get heated. He's racing, and he expects his team to be as locked in as he is. But something's gone wrong there at Ferrari. I mean, they've regressed this year. The big change at Ferrari is Lewis Hamilton. Is he the problem, Patrick?
I don't know. I think he is somebody, I think, that demands a lot and expects a lot, and I think there probably is some dynamic that is not functioning well, whether it's Lewis wants this and this and this, but we've been doing it this way and we're not going to change, or maybe we are going to change. We're going to try to change and it still isn't going to work. Or we don't know how he expects things to change, and so it's not going to go well. I think some of their struggles can be attributed probably to him coming in and trying to change things to how they suit him, I guess. And Ferrari being Ferrari, and the reason they brought Hamilton in are sort of at odds, I think. They bring Hamilton in to be their guy, their big spokesman, and the sort of face of the franchise of the of their team. And then they're also Ferrari. They're like, well, we don't actually need anybody to rebrand us or change anything. And frankly, we don't want somebody to come in and tell us what to do. So there seems to be probably two, uh, forces that are uh, opposing each other. And I don't think it's all Hamilton's fault per se, but I think a lot of the issues are maybe attributed to his presence or what have you.
Is
I don't know.
is
I sort of expected him, Hamilton, that is, to be better than where he is currently. I think obviously Ferrari is much worse than expected. Even Leclerc is quite far down the order here.
yeah.
Not a lot of points, but Hamilton just looks inconsistent and frustrated, almost like how he was in Mercedes the last couple of seasons. And I kind of expected him to be rejuvenated at Ferrari and drive the way that he was driving early on in his Mercedes career, right? And just I don't know, attacking everybody, being fast all the time, everywhere. I don't know. It's been a
Yeah.
little bit disappointing to start this season.
Yeah, it's hard right now to find out. Well, at his age, what has he lost? Plus, he's going to a new team, new car, and we see Carlos Sainz struggles at Williams, and is just not the right fit. You know, I mean, that could be it.
And I
Speaking of what,
think, oh, I was just gonna say, like, you know, you mentioned that Lewis made some uh, maybe less than savory comments over the radio, but even Leclerc seems to be doing that. I think both of these drivers are, um, you know, they were very civil last season uh, when discussing them becoming teammates. I think neither one of them likes each other and they don't like that they're on the same team.
yeah,
And I think, that sort of struggle maybe is also contributing to the overall team's difficulties.
yeah, yeah, Carlos, or not Carlos, but Charles is always just so nice, so diplomatic. But he's been there. He's been there for years now, and he feels it's his team. Lewis is like, no, 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 I'm Lewis Hamilton. This is my team. And Ferrari's like, no, 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 this is Ferrari.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, how this, I'm curious. Do you think with all this turmoil, Williams has a shot of fourth place, of
No.
usurping?
No.
Yeah, yeah. I
That would be hilarious and awesome if there was a battle for fourth and fifth between Ferrari and Williams. I
that would
mean,
be
just because you could just say, "Oh, look at this crazy battle! It's Ferrari and Williams, like it's the freaking '90s."
right, but it's in the middle pack.
But
It's
it's
in
in
the
the
middle
middle
pack.
of
Yeah,
the pack.
funny. Now, speaking of turmoil, there is once again turmoil inside Red Bull, as always. Christian Horner, as always, we hear his job on the line. I always think that's nonsense. I'm, talking about Williams, talking about Christian Horner. I think Christian Horner has had a bigger and more positive impact on F1 than Frank Williams. But Helmut Marko, nobody ever knows really what his role is, his job is, what his purpose is, what his responsibility is, other than just being a dick. You know, he says he eventually will retire and he would like Sebastian Vettel to replace him. I don't know exactly what Helmut does, so I'm not sure if Sebastian Vettel will replace him. Sebastian Vettel, though, said essentially he doesn't race anymore because his kids don't want him to race. He's a father. He wants to take care of his children. He wants to spend his time with his children, not fly all around the world. And it's a dangerous sport. Maybe that role works. I don't know. but not racing, not anymore. But it brings up the question, can you succeed in Formula One if you have children? I don't know if you can. I don't know. I mean, it always bugged me that K-Mag had his little girl there in the paddock. I'm like, look, it's cute and all, but no. This is a no kid zone. This is not bring your daughter to work day. Get her out. I don't know. Can you have kids? Or can you be great at F1 with children? Max now has a child.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, that was brought up. Will will Max all of a sudden become slow now that he has a kid? I don't know the answer to that. I don't really know what it's like to have children. So I think
Neither does
maybe
Max
it's
Verstappen,
probably
really. He's like 4 or 5 days in. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, um, it it does seem like a lot of drivers who have had children seem to go through some, I don't know, just like period of figuring out how to compartmentalize almost.
Hey,
And, speaking of K-Mag, he just wasn't the fastest and certainly not in the fastest car, but like he was fucking crashing into everybody. So
he was
I'm
a
not
demon on
sure that
wheels.
that really, came
Right.
into his mind.
I mean, you kind of wonder, like, do they break a little sooner? Do they let up a little bit earlier? I'm not so sure. Like you said, Kevin Magnussen was just a demon on wheels. But he, but it's just it's the lifestyle. I think this is not a lifestyle conducive to raising a family,
Mhm.
having children. I don't even think it's a lifestyle conducive to having a spouse. Maybe that makes life easier, less crazy. Because when there's a different girl in every paddock, that may sound fun, but basically you're not gonna be focused on the grid, on the race, okay? But 24, 25 races a season, they're flying all around the world. They go back to Europe in 2 weeks, different countries, then back to North America. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll see what We'll see what the future holds for Verstappen. Will this be Lando and Oscar are both ahead of him? They got a faster car. Is this it? Does Max peak at 4 championships?
I don't know. But we saw almost a similar run at Red Bull, right? With Vettel from 2010, 11, where it's just like unstoppable. I mean, a few guys came close, right? Alonso was a
Very
point
close. Yeah.
away, but Vettel, ran through the field, 4 championships in a row. Uh, Regulations change, what have you, and then boom, he's best he can do is fighting with another team for half a season, and then it all goes away. Um, he just never really got back to the top. He tried for a few seasons at Ferrari, didn't work out. So I'm not suggesting that it's because of children, but 4 championships is a lot of championships. It's a lot of work to stay that dominant. I don't know that anybody can really sustain that.
Yeah.
Hamilton, I think 4 championships in a row is crazy, and he did more. Obviously he's got the 7 total, but had Mercedes not been just so unbelievably dominant, I don't think he necessarily has the same level of or the same number of wins and
Right.
championships and all the records that he does have maybe they're not by quite as much.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you look at what the McLaren is doing this year. I mean, they're finishing so far ahead. I mean, Hamilton had and Mercedes. I mean, that was
I mean,
eight years of that.
yeah, it's hard to imagine that Max and Red Bull, can sustain their dominance. Obviously, this season is looking completely different than a few of the prior seasons, and we're looking at McLaren now as the totally dominant team. I am not sure that we can expect to say the same in a few seasons. So we'll see. I Maybe Max has peaked at 4. I think he'll try to have something to say about that, but
Well,
ultimately, if that Red Bull stays the same and is so unruly and so difficult to consistently put in your best laps, then I just don't see a way for him to continue to win the way that he has been.
yeah, and there really is. I mean, we get new regulations next year, but next season, I believe, right? And then sort of radical. They've suggested sort of radical changes by 2030. I think it is maybe 2029. I'm not sure, but where would Max go? I mean, Lawrence Stroll could offer him, just a princely sum, and they've got Honda, they've got Adrian Newey. But I mean, we've seen they've just regressed every year under Stroll's ownership, basically. So I don't know. Mercedes. I mean, we hear rumors that Mercedes is far and above the rest of the field for next year's car. But I mean, Toto has not signed George Russell yet, but Toto likes things, he likes it. He likes it nice and easy, nice and clean, And I think he's just going to re-sign George, hold on to Kimmy. So there's no place for Max to go. So, although speaking of, you mentioned Alonso. I mean, the man's been there for basically longer than Kimmy Antonelli's been alive. I think next year will be yet another set of regulations, a slightly different power unit, different aerodynamic field, different car setups. I don't. I'm not, I'm beginning to wonder if this year will be his last year. I know he's signed, I think, through 2026, and he said, like, I know I've seen interviews where he talks about, will I continue after 2026? I'm not sure he continues after 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it has not been a great season for him so far this year. Last year was difficult. I sort of expected him to retire after last season. Um, but this year, that Aston is even further behind the field than we expected, and it seems like they are not able to, I guess, develop the car in the way that Alonso probably wants. I mean, he's likely out there driving and telling them, giving them feedback. This is what needs to change. This is how we should move forward, and it's just not being improved. And I it would be so disappointing. It will be disappointing when Alonso retires. Should it be this year? I mean, probably. He's an old man and has had his run, and I just don't think that team is going to get him back to competing for podiums, championships, wins, whatever, like he probably wants or deserves. I don't know what he's looking for, but if all he wants to do is race, then maybe he keeps going. But if there's any desire to win, I don't see a purpose at Aston.
Switching to the soft compound. This was the first race in America. Miami. Before the race, they announced Miami had signed an agreement with F1 to continue through 2041. That's like 15 years, basically. That's amazing. I mean, it was only a few years ago, less than 10 years ago, when it was just in Texas at Coda, and there were questions if that would survive, but it would keep that race on the calendar. Cadillac joins next year. They're going to have a power unit by 2029. I don't know. We've got Coda, Vegas. I mean, look, Europeans don't want to admit it. Vegas has usurped Monaco. That's the premier event on the calendar. America, it's ascendant. F1 is embracing America. But oddly enough, there's no TV deal. ESPN is not paying much, and their deal runs out at the end of this year. I mean, who do you think will show F1 races next year in America?
I have no idea. F1 TV. I don't know.
I mean, it's a weird thing. I mean, it's May of 2025. At the end of this season, there's no TV contract. And ESPN has basically said, no, we're out. And F1 says we want double the amount of that we're getting.
Yeah, I almost expect someone like Amazon, like Prime TV or something like that, to come in. They just started doing the Thursday night football games, NFL games in the U.S., and they did some NFL playoff games, and are sort of, I think, getting into that sports live streaming content. And I think if they want to make a big splash, aside from their Thursday night football, I think F1 is a good way to do that. So that to me is really the most realistic option for anyone to sign an F1 TV deal in the U.S. I don't know. It seems hard to imagine that, like, Netflix or I don't know who else, Apple.
See, because I want Fox to have the rights, because Fox in the U.S. at least does, in my opinion, a better job showcasing their sports franchises, pre-race coverage, race coverage, post-race coverage, regular updates, human interest stories, more stories with the drivers. I mean, they've taken over Indy racing this year. I think they do a great job with that. They do a great job with NASCAR. But they've already got Indy and they've got some NASCAR. So I just don't think they're going to, where would they slot F1? I don't know about Amazon. I think Amazon is showing their business case for live sports, but F1 is still a bit niche in the US, I think, which makes me think Apple or Netflix. Amazon is more broadcast oriented. They're the store for everybody, for everything. So I don't know. What do you I mean, I think another issue though is F1 doesn't, in my opinion, aggressively promote the drivers in the US. I've seen one Lewis Hamilton billboard in an airport. During races, I'll see maybe a Heineken commercial with Max Verstappen. Periodically, you'll see an advertisement with Sergio Perez, but very rarely. I mean, in the US, if you don't follow F1 closely, these You wouldn't know who these people. I mean, it's like when Martin Brundle interviews a soccer star. I'm like, who is that? I have no idea who that is. But in the U.S., it's sort of like that with F1 stars. I don't know. I just don't think they do a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to get people more interested and involved in the sport, and that does come down to how F1 promotes teams and drivers. And I think nobody really has any idea who pretty much any of the drivers are. I mean, unless you are really into this sport, you probably only know Max and maybe Lewis. And I imagine that's about it. You even say Fernando Alonso's name to somebody, and they're like, nah, I don't know who that is. So, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there needs to be some strategy to promote drivers and teams because I agree. I hardly ever see anything related to F1. I sometimes will see a McLaren ad with like I don't know, business efficiency programs and things like that. You'll see. I just saw an ad for Smart Sheet or whatever, right? Which nobody's gonna know what that is, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's like nothing out there, and I think there needs to be something more interesting. Tell me who Carlos Sainz is and give a cool story about it. I don't think it can just be Drive to Survive that gets people
Yeah,
interested in the sport and in a driver or a team. There
I
needs to
saw.
be something else.
I was at a bar this week. Excuse me, and it was a black guy, and he had a Mercedes jacket on, and I'm like, ooh, an F1 fan, and he's probably a Lewis Hamilton fan. But the fact that I would see anybody with Mercedes gear, with F1 gear, and especially a black man in the U.S., because that would be more like basketball, let's say football. And I approached him. I started talking to him. We started talking F1, and I didn't say anything, but I thought it was funny because he was British.
Funny.
Oh, okay, that's kind of a cheat. It's like he's not really an F1 fan. He's an F1 fan in America, but he's not, an F1 fan. So I just thought that was funny. Oh, this is just coming over the wire. The team principal at Alpine is out. I don't even know his name because it's just a bit of musical chairs there at Alpine. And the suggestion is their young rookie driver, Jack Doohan, will be out too. Um, that Miami was his last race. That will be sad. Yeah. How many races? How many races do you think is enough, Patrick?
I
I
don't
mean,
think six is enough.
in
I'd give him at least a half a season. But frankly, I'm like, look, it, unless he's crashing constantly and costing you a ton of money, you should give your driver that you signed, you chose this, you decided this was your guy, give him a season, one full season. If you don't, then I think you are admitting that you're kind of an idiot, right? I've done something so obviously stupid. One of the two drivers that I could have signed, I don't like them. They suck, actually. I didn't do my due diligence. I'm backing out of my agreement with them. I mean, it's embarrassing, and you obviously screwed up and screwed yourself.
well, I think it's even. I mean, it's not like pulling a goalie. It's like maybe it's a bad game, maybe a bad week. We need to take the pressure off. He needs to sit. I think once you're pulled from F1, I mean, I shouldn't say that for sure. Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you need time. Yeah, I'm all for course correcting and I'm all for demanding the absolute best. But as we've seen from all the rookie drivers, maybe Kimi Antonelli the exception, this is a tough sport. These are tough cars to get a handle on. And to throw that additional pressure of, no, only a few races because we've got this other guy standing by, ready to take your seat at any moment. I don't know. I don't like that. I don't. I'm not sure it's. I don't think that's a course correction. I think that's more something like what you're saying. It's just let's take the blame off of my poor decisions.
Yeah, I mean they're just saying, "Oh, everything is your fault, Jack." I mean, no, Alpine is shit. Your car is garbage. Pierre Gasly has a handful of points, and that's it. And he's a very good driver. He's a veteran driver. Yeah, to just basically almost even go into the season telling your rookie driver like, look, you got few races, and if you don't put up a damn good show, apparently, you're gone. You're out. That's garbage. I mean, yeah, it's shameful. I don't know. I don't like it. I think every driver that comes into a season deserves to finish out that season at least. You were told you're going to do this by your team, and for them to back out, be like, no, we're not doing that. It's terrible. Alpine sucks. I don't like them.
Across the line. That's our segment where we predict the winners of the next race. The winners of the next race is in 2 weeks. Imola. It was a pretty good race last year. It was Max, Lando, Charles. That's a good one. Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari. Yeah, that's a good one. Imola. This first race of another triple header. I think the drivers, the crew members, the teams, I think they're not fans of these triple headers, but it is what it is. 24 races, you're going to have them. In across the line, we predict the top 5. If we get a driver in the top 5, we get a point. If we get him in the exact right spot, we get 3 points. At the end of the year, we add up the points to see who is the winner. Patrick, what are the current standings of across the line?
Okay, well, Miami was better for me this week. So let's see, came into this weekend, you were up 25-11. The final top 5 of the race was Piastri, Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Albon. That was top 5. Your predictions were Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton, Antonelli, Sainz. So you got a grand total of 1 point for Lando in the wrong position.
Ferrari let me down hard.
Let you down.
I'm not the only one.
My prediction was Piastri, Verstappen, Russell, Tsunoda, Lawson. So I got 3 for Piastri, 1 for Verstappen, and 3 for Russell.
Wow.
So 7 total. That brings us, long story short, you are still leading 26 points to my 18. So close the gap pretty well this weekend.
You did. All right. Who goes first for
You
Imola?
have first pick for Imola.
Then 3 in a row. I say 4 in a row. Oscar Piastri.
Nice. Then I'm going to say we'll go with the same result as last year. We'll go Verstappen, Norris, right?
It was Verstappen, Norris. Yep. Right. Those two are going to just hate each other.
Good.
Then I will pick last year's third, which was Charles Leclerc. It's back in Italy. Charles and Lewis were both yelling at Fred Vasseur, get your shit together. So I'm going to go Lewis Hamilton for third.
You're going to say he does get his shit together. And
yeah, we'll see. At least this race in Italy.
Nice. Then I guess I'm going to go with the perennial third place, George Russell. And I will take, you know what? We'll go with Williams, Alex Albon up in P4.
Ooh, okay. Well, I'll take George's teammate, Kimi Antonelli. And I'm going to take Max's teammate, Yuki Tsunoda. So I have Oscar, Charles, Lewis Hamilton, Kimi Antonelli, and Yuki Tsunoda. You have Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, George Russell, Alex Albon, and
Esteban Ocon. Haas is going to have a big day.
Any crazy predictions, Patrick?
My crazy predictions are not too crazy. I'm going to say that Alex Albon will be given his Red Bull seat back by the end of the season, ultimately replacing Yuki.
Does he want it?
Maybe he does. I don't know, but I think he will. He will return to Red Bull, and I think that closes the door on a few drivers. But when one door closes, another one opens. So Isaac Hadjar will join Cadillac next season.
Ooh, that would be cool because we hear the same names. Oh, it's gonna be Sergio Perez. It's gonna be Valtteri Bottas. That would be a good one. I like that. That would be great. Let him sort of, become the face of that team over many, many years. That's a great idea. My crazy prediction. So before the Miami race, Lego brought out these cool Lego F1. They're like, hey guys, we spent a fortune on these. It's like 50,000 Lego pieces or whatever. They go like 20 miles an hour, something like that. Hop in, it's all gonna be fun. We're gonna drive around the track. And immediately they tried to start killing each other with them, ramming into each other. So my prediction is within a couple of years, we're gonna have bumper karting. That's gonna be a thing for adult males. Just forget the cigar clubs. Forget the bars. Let's just go ram each other with our big ass Lego F1 cars. So bumper karting. All right. I want to thank you all for listening to everybody's most beloved father and son F1 podcast. It is much appreciated. And we are lights out.
See ya. Thanks for listening.
You just finished listening to Hard Compound, recorded in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and around the world.